Coming up on today's Locked On Dodgers, Andrew Friedman talks about Clayton Kershaw, Dave Roberts, and a little bit about Kenley Jansen, and then a discussion with Steve Granado of Locked On Angels just about what the dynamic is between the two Southern California teams. That's what we got on tap today, so make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yo, Dodger fans. Vince Samperio of Rivalry Fiends here, and this is Locked On Dodgers. We are a daily podcast here covering not the World Series champion, covering the Los Angeles Dodgers, bringing you the smart fans' perspective on our boys in blue. I'll be going solo for the first part of this episode, and then Steve Granado of Locked On Angels will be joining me in the second part of this episode. So stick around for that. But we're going to get right into it. And well, actually, first, we want to thank you for making us your first listen every single morning, every weekday morning, Monday through Friday. We are here and talking Dodgers for the most part, unless something else happens in baseball. But let's hop right into it. Andrew Friedman spoke to some media yesterday, talked a little bit about Kenley Jansen, a little bit about Dave Roberts, a little bit about Clayton Kershaw, and did have a note on Dustin May. So we'll get off with the smaller parts first. He said Dustin May has begun his throwing program, which we did talk about before, at least that he was throwing. Friedman said that he is on track to return after the All-Star break or in August. That's maybe a little bit earlier than I thought, but if he's on track, he's on track. I always thought maybe September. He had a month to kind of work his way into a bullpen role potentially and help the Dodgers out that way. So I would imagine that's still the case in terms of how he's going to help out the Dodgers in 2022. It's going to be probably in a bullpen role or maybe a 2-inning role if he's able to hopefully come back and be the guy that he was before. The other thing that Andrew Friedman talked about was Kenley Jansen. He says that if he does come back, he says, quote, "For me, if he's back, it would be in the 9th inning." So they still consider Kenley Jansen a closer, which makes sense. He did really, after those two blown saves coming out of the All-Star break, he really was downright dominant the rest of the season and into the postseason. So, at this point, it wouldn't make sense to say, oh, he's not a closer, even though you have a guy like Blake Trinan who can definitely handle a closer's role. Dave Roberts, Kenley Jansen, still deserves to be a closer if that's what he wants to do. I'm not sure if the Dodgers are going to go after him for that, but if they do, at least we know it would still be in a closer role. Moving on, Friedman talked about Dave Roberts and this is the final year. 2022 is the final year of the 4-year extension he signed before the 2019 season. He said that he's kind of expecting / hoping that the Dodgers, or Dave Roberts said that he's kind of expecting / hoping that the Dodgers would make another contract offer so he wouldn't be a lame duck manager. Andrew Friedman said that, quote, "He's been a big part of what we've accomplished looking back, and I expect him to be a big part of what we accomplished looking forward. For us, we have a lot of near-term things with people who we aren't sure are going to be here that we're working through. I'm sure it's something we'll have conversations on at some point." As much as some fans might not like Dave Roberts, I don't really expect him to go anywhere. I at least for the significant future. Now, if the Dodgers do have plans of doing that, they might tack on like a 1-year extension, just kind of like, here, in case we do fire you, you'll have a year of salary as your parting gift. But if they give him anything more than that, then I think that definitely secures how long he's going to stick around with the Dodgers. It's one of those things where, you look around and there's not really a manager candidate that you're like, oh, excited for. Maybe you're excited about Gabe Kapler and how he's helped turn the Giants around. They lost to Dave Roberts in the postseason. And, whether it was obviously a little bit of a talent disparity, but also it worked out. He lost. And, whatever the case is, it's one of those things. The grass isn't always greener. And we had Don Mattingly before Dave Roberts, and he I never liked Don Mattingly, and I didn't think he ever deserved to be Dodger manager. And yeah, I would rather not go back to something like that. Dave Roberts, at the end of the day, the Dodgers are always going to have a team full of talent, or at least it appears that they're always going to have a team full of talent. And managing personalities and having conversations with high priced athletes and rookies and veteran, the mix that the Dodgers are probably going to have for a significant future. Managing those personalities is probably 80% of the job, and that's what the Dodgers need. The 20% of like actual on-field decisions, some of those are talked about ahead of time. Andrew Friedman and Dave Roberts have both said that some of the decisions are talked about ahead of time. They might have a little bit of a plan. They might have, some ideas. Hey, if this happens, we might do this, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, there's some decisions that just come down to Dave Roberts, and he hasn't always handled those decisions that great. But I don't think anything this postseason has really been. I don't think anything this past postseason of any of the things that we disagreed with were 100% on him. Bringing Julio into the eighth inning, I don't know. It just doesn't scream Andrew Fried, or it doesn't scream Dave Roberts move to me. It screams a little bit Andrew Friedman and analytics department, and maybe that was the plan. Like, hey, if we get to a point where we're up late in the game, Julio's available for an inning. That's a organization wide decision. That's not Dave Roberts just saying, you know what, Julio, go warm up. We're ready to go. So I think knowing that it's hard for a front office to be like, hey, you know what, we're gonna fire you because you're kind of following their game plan. So I don't, I hope Dave Roberts is manager for years to come, and I hope that also leads to more World Series championships, and that's just going to be remain to be seen. But yeah, I think they'll give him, if they give him just a 1 year extension, then he might be a little on like a hot seat type of thing, not really, but kind of. And if they give him a longer extension, then he's going to be here to stay. The last part Andrew Friedman talked about, which was kind of talked about the most on social media, is Clayton Kershaw. First off, he said that Kershaw is they believe he's going to be healthy and ready to go on opening day. And then on Kershaw's side, he said he wants to get there and get throwing and get off the mound, like throwing off the mound. In terms of the qualifying offer, Andrew Friedman's quote was interesting because it kind of didn't make sense, but it made sense, but he also said some stuff that doesn't make sense. He said, quote, "We really want Kirsch to come back, not only because of what he's meant to us looking back, but what he'll mean for us going forward. That being said, he has to figure out what's best for him and his family. There's a personal and professional tug of war for me. Professionally, I really hope he's back. Personally, I want him to do what makes sense for his family, and we'll figure out what that means." He mentioned that they didn't offer the qualifying offer. It was a little bit out of respect, because he deserves to enjoy free agency or handle free agency how he wants. The one thing that he said was that it would accelerate the timeline a little bit, and he didn't want to do that, and he wanted to make sure Kershaw took his time. Whether he accepts or doesn't, the qualifying offer doesn't really affect his timeline. I guess if it's the fact of he doesn't want to stay and they offer him the qualifying offer and then he says no, and now he has something hurting him signing with another team, maybe that's what he's talking about in terms of they didn't want to accelerate the timeline. And like I said, out of respect, they didn't end up offering him the qualifying offer. Friedman went on to say, quote, "Hopefully we're able to roll up our sleeves with him and figure that out, and we're very optimistic we'll be able to figure that out. If he wants to come back, we definitely want him back. If he wants to come back, we will absolutely work together to make that happen. And if he doesn't, for whatever reason, he's earned that right, that prerogative. He's going to drive a lot of what he wants to do next year. The ball is in his court." And yeah, at the end of the day, that's respect for one of the best pitchers of all time, one of the best pitchers, top two for sure, at the very least of pitchers in Dodger history. And it's one of those where Kershaw's probably earned that, and it's I can't tell. Like, did they not offer him the call on offer because if Kershaw takes it, they don't want to pay Kershaw 18 mil? Like, do they not believe he's worth 18 mil anymore? Are they thinking more in like a 15 mil range? Or are they thinking more of a lower salary, more incentives type thing because of his injury history now? I'm not entirely sure what it is. I saw, a lot of people are reading into Friedman's quotes a little bit like, oh yeah, Kershaw's gone. I didn't get that sense at all. They were respectful of him. They didn't want him to have a qualifying offer attached and the team have to lose a draft pick if they sign him. they didn't want to deter Kershaw from moving on if he wants to move on, and I can respect that. At the end of the day, for the most part, this is a business, and you make business decisions over personal decisions. But sometimes you do have to make personal decisions, and that's what's happening here with Kershaw. So, yeah, I don't expect it to be anything. If Kershaw wants to come back, like I said, he's going to come back, and that's just the if, ands, and where's about it. What the one thing that it did kind of lead me to think is that Kershaw is maybe contemplating retirement, because one of the quotes Friedman said was kind of like, he's going to sit down. He's not sure where he's at yet. He's going to sit down with Ellen and figure things out. And that makes more sense. Like, if he's deciding, okay, do I want to play again, or do I want to, not play anymore? That makes more sense to me than, oh yeah, Kershaw's gone. So whatever the case is, I hope Clayton Kershaw returns, and I hope he returns healthy, and we can have at least one more year of a good Clayton Kershaw. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. We're gonna come back, and then when we come back, I'll be on with Steve Granado of Locked On Angels, talking a little bit about Angels Dodgers, and just, is it a rivalry? Is it not a rivalry? How do we handle fans? How do they handle fans, and things of that nature? So make sure to keep it Locked On Dodgers. I love Thanksgiving, and I really do love Thanksgiving. It's just football, family, and food, best part. But sometimes you get to dessert, and maybe you're like, oh man, I want to save a couple calories on dessert. I usually don't, but either way, it's the perfect time for Built Bars, because Built Bars are the new holiday dessert. And honestly, Built Bars would be a very worthy dessert. I'm not gonna lie about it. They're really good. Sometimes I have them for dessert. I get hungry, have a meal. I'm like, oh man, need a little something sweet. Oh, Built Bar, and I don't have to feel bad about it. If you have one slice of pie, it could be upward of 300 calories. That's before you put on whipped cream, and 300 is a little bit on the low end. Built Bars are only 130 to 180 calories, 4 or 5 grams sugar, 4 to 5 gram net carbs, plenty of protein, everything you need, and it's covered in chocolate. So whatever is under there, it's covered in chocolate. It makes it taste even better. Built Bar is a great option for when you're hungry, and if Thanksgiving isn't coming soon enough, go for a Built Bar or two. Bring it to your family gatherings, make things less awkward. So go to Built.com, use promo code LOCK15, and you'll get 15% off your order. That's promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at Built.com. We're back. I want to thank you for making us your first listen every single weekday morning. And now let's hop into the conversation with Steve Granado of Locked On Angels.
Vince, dude, let's just go ahead and start with how the Dodgers did this year, man. I mean, we'll get into like this rivalry, not rivalry thing here in a second, but I mean, I was rooting for you. I had some fun with the Chris Taylors and the belly bombs. I'm all in, dude. How I know it ended sour, but how are you feeling about the postseason this year, dude?
Yeah, man, it was a weird season. It was one of those, probably the most fresh. I mean, not to get on the Angels fans, get sad, but probably the most frustrating 106 win season there could be, I guess. Sure. That was mainly because the Giants just played out of their mind and won 107. So the Dodgers never truly got to enjoy how good they were, because they were always chasing the Giants. The postseason was fun, beating the Giants, obviously beating the Cardinals, to one postseason demon, one your biggest rival. And then, the Braves, I'm sure you've talked about on your show, they were just kind of the buzzsaw, the team of destiny, whatever you want to call it, all the cliches. And, I don't think there was much else the Dodgers could have done, even if a couple moves here and there that were criticized, even if those had gone differently, I don't know if the Dodgers still would have won that series anyways. So, yeah, a little sour, but I think it does feel a lot different knowing that they won in 2020. Some people felt this year needed to validate that, but, for me, 2020 was a real championship, and 2021, they just didn't get it done.
Everybody who says 2020 wasn't a real championship would have felt like it was a real championship if they won the championship.
100%. That's right. It doesn't even faze me.
No, it's ridiculous. These are the rules that were set, and that's just how it is. Everyone would have been happy to win a World Series that year. And it's not like you guys haven't been there. Like you're a dynasty. Yeah. Like, duh. It's ridiculous. I think you kind of know where I'm at on the side of if this is a rivalry or not. Let's get into that, Vince. We've been friends for a little bit. Weirdly enough, I actually don't think I've ever seen you in person, but have ran the same circles. You have been on old shows of mine, and obviously we're doing this crossover here now on the Locked On Network. Let's talk about the rivalry, dude. if you want to say that. I don't believe Angels Dodgers is a rivalry. Angels Dodgers goes back to the 60s, when the Dodgers were coming over from Brooklyn and the whole stadium mess. You were actually on my episode for that on Our Game, which I've talked about all the time here on Locked On Angels. But from your perspective, I want to get your take first. Then I want to ask what you think fans actually think. What do you think about Angels Dodgers?
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a rivalry on the field. I don't. They don't really. There hasn't even been bad blood or anything really. It's just kind of been. Oddly enough, it's been when the Angels haven't been that good recently. They've played well against the Dodgers every
Yeah.
time. Like Cole Calhoun just still haunts my nightmares sometimes. So, but in terms of on field, I mean, they haven't really had anything. It's one of those where the Angels, for the most part, if it's a rival or what you consider a rival, you're gonna have players on the other team that you don't like. Madison Bumgarner, very easy for the Giants. But on the Angels, there was nobody ever like that. Like I respect Mike Trout. Mike Trout gets booed at Dodger Stadium, which I still don't understand. But Mike Trout's the best player in the game, so there's no reason to hate on that. They've even had a couple. Sean Figgins, Garrett Anderson have come over to the Dodgers, not done that great, but it was later in their career. So yeah, in terms of on-field rivalry, it's not. They play between 4 and 6 games every year, depending on how the schedule makers do it. And it's annoying that the Dodgers end up losing sometimes, most of those times. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't call it a rivalry other than the fact that they kind of sit in the same city in terms of on-field. I know we're going to get into the fan perspective, and I think that my answer is a little bit different there.
Yeah, I was at the Angels Dodgers where Kenley, that weird play with Kenley, and I was at that game. That was 20.
Threw it over the wall.
Yeah. That one. I think it was 2018 or 2019. Yeah. Time is a flat circle at this point. But yeah, I think I mean, there's on the field. There's never really been anything. It's
I guess the one thing is Channel Park and Tim Belcher. That's the one thing I can remember.
Sure, but I mean, I know Jared Weaver had a no-no at Dodger Stadium for a little bit. That was a weird one. The Angels lost. I think that was like a 1-0 loss, and Weaver went 7 no-hit innings or something stupid like that, and the run scored on an error. So I can't remember exactly. That was like 2008.
Yeah. Well, he did technically kind of throw a no-hitter. It just didn't count because it wasn't a full game, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, on the field, I mean, it's fairly even. I don't know, without looking it up, I know win-loss is fairly close. I think the Angels have the advantage, if I'm not mistaken on that. I think, but it's nothing that's 600 more. Yeah, nothing stupid.
Yeah.
But fan perspective, dude. I think that's where everything therein lies, because we're obviously very close. We're not LA. I've said that a million times. We're not LA. Fans don't even want to be called LA. Angels fans aren't sitting here no, we're the real LA. No Angels fans ever said that, but Dodgers fans really seem to want to stick on that point. And I've never come across an Angels fan who has been nah, dude, we're the real LA. No one's ever said that. So from that perspective, why do you think Dodger fans like to stick on that point so hard?
I think it's just a territory thing, the whether the fans say it or not, the fact that they're called Los Angeles Angels, and we know that they're not kind of, I guess, whatever technicality they are in Los Angeles. That Artie Moreno found, whatever technicality they found, it doesn't fit. And it is funny because now that you say it, I don't think most of the times I get into it with Angel fans is not over territory LA or anything like that. So I think it's definitely just Dodger fans. I wouldn't call it insecurity, just a little bit of you guys are in Los Angeles and we are, and we want to make sure that that. That's really what it comes down to. Whether maybe a little insecurity, I don't know, but it just comes down to territory thing, and it's a weird little quirk that happened to come into this quote unquote rivalry a few years ago, and now it's kind of a sticking point.
And again, we talked about it on Our Game, but obviously not everybody's listened to it. But I actually didn't know until last year that one of the big sticking points for the Dodgers coming over to Los Angeles was because of the buy and sell of Wrigley Field, where the PCL Angels used to play when they were the Los Angeles Angels, officially in the beginning when they were the AAA team or a minor league team, however you want to talk about it. But yeah, that one was kind of a weird thing. Do you think did you know that, and do you think Dodger fans actually know that?
I only knew that one. I don't even know if it was an Angel fan, but somebody kind of said trying to make that point, and that. Yeah. And I knew I learned that a couple years ago. Pretty sure most Dodger fans don't know that. Most Dodger fans that I know might not even know the history of Dodgers coming to LA in general, let alone that little tidbit. So, yeah, it's definitely just territory now that you're called Los Angeles, and they don't consider them Los Angeles. We're back and better than ever, and a new web interface is available for the start of basketball season over at BetOnline. It's got more props, more odds, and more lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all basketball and football action this season. So head over to BetOnline on your laptop or mobile device and sign up today. You can get a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit with the promo code Locked On. That's promo code Locked On at BetOnline for a 50% welcome bonus after your first deposit. From basketball, football, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts.
Yeah, I mean, Angels baseball dates back to the early 1890s, which is just crazy.
Yeah.
When we were the Los Angeles Angels, for a very, very, very long time, have been weirdly the Los Angeles Angels more than we've been the Anaheim Angels, and the California Angels was a longer name. So like we were very briefly Anaheim, but it seems like Angels fans really like to stick on the Anaheim. I mean, it makes sense. We're in Anaheim, so. But let's talk a little bit about the stadium experience. You've been to Angel Stadium. I definitely have seen you come out here for like those exhibition games, like post spring training, pre opening day. What do you think it is for like what's from the Dodgers fan perspective walking into Angel Stadium? What does it feel like?
Well, it's definitely a lot more fun because you can go right across the street. Like there's a brewery right across the street. I know that I don't know if they still allow tailgating because of COVID this year, but I know they allowed tailgating in the past. So it's a different experience in that sense where you can feel like you're not, drinking in the car right before you get to the stadium like that. You're you have a little more freedom to enjoy yourself if you want before the game. And then walking in, I've never felt hostility really. Hasn't really been a time where they both were good. Like 2014 was the last time they both made playoffs. But even going back even further, there hasn't really been a point where they were both like really, really good. And they don't contradict each other anyways. Like they play each other 4 times, 6 times a year. So it doesn't really make a big difference. And realistically, they've never been close to playing each other in the World Series. So it's just, you don't feel hostility. But I do feel, Angel fans, me specifically, I think the biggest thing with all this is that since they are so close, more Angel fans probably than any other fan base. I definitely know more Angel fans than I know even Giants fans, and that's after living in the Bay for a while. So you just more people, and it feels a little bit different because you're like, I don't want them to be happy more so than I want the Dodgers to win. It's kind of like a little bit of a split side of it. And I've never felt hostility, and honestly, those games are some of the more fun games that I've been to in terms of, not to kind of get down on Angel Stadium, but it brings a little bit more life into the stadium, I'll say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I think that's the biggest part of it.
You mentioned that like a lot of Angels fans. That was totally me. I grew up on the edge of LA, Orange County. I grew up in La Habra. So like that is like literally the last city before Orange County. So the southeasternmost tip. And so it was like straight up. I've told this story a couple of times on the show, but how, when I was born, I was actually a Dodgers fan when I was a little baby, like diapers, we would go to Dodger games. But then my dad got so fed up with going to Dodger Stadium that we started going to Anaheim instead. And then that's, how I was kind of born into the Angels fan base. Cause my mom's from LA. My dad's from Arizona, so there's a little bit of Dodgers, but not a ton in the family. But I remember when I was a kid too, it was like 5th grade. I got Angels Dodgers tickets, and I had an extra one. So my mom was like, "Invite a friend." I was like, "Oh, cool, sweet." So I invited one of my best friends at the time, and then we met up to go to the game. Like we met at a spot, and then we're gonna drive out together. And he showed up in a Dodgers jersey, and I had Angels gear on. I was like, the first time I was like, "Oh, wait, what?" like I didn't know that was a thing. I've always been an Angels fan in my mind, so it's kind of weird. For us, like I know, like I went to Angels Dodgers this year, which I missed the first 4 innings for sitting an hour in traffic outside, like down the street. Was a total nightmare. Went to Philippe's before, got a dip, and then was trying to get into the ballpark, and I literally missed 4 innings. Super fun. But I definitely feel the hostility walking into Dodger Stadium. I didn't.
The flip side is different.
It's totally different, right? Like it feels different. I know that you're a passionate guy. I'm a passionate guy. Why would we do this if we weren't? are like I'm gonna ask you and put you on the spot, dude. Do you give hostility to Angels fans when walking into Dodger Stadium?
I don't give it to them walking in Dodger Stadium. I definitely give it to them on Twitter a little more than any other fan base.
Keyboard
And
warrior.
not just, well, that's because that's where most of the talking is done. You know, Angel fans, they don't come in, well, at least not what I've seen. They don't come into like bravado into Dodger Stadium, which is probably because they feel that. You know, I don't give it too much to other fans in general, but Angel fans, the thing for me with the Angel fans has always been that their argument was like 2002. Like that's no matter what you started talking about, 2002 came up, and it was like, all right, well, you know, it's been 15 years. Like, does it really matter? 88, 2002, like
19.
Yeah, well, yeah, nowadays, but before it was just like, does it really matter at this point? So for me, like Angel fans, I've definitely trolled them more on social media just because that's where a lot of the like talking happens. But in general, at Dodger games, I don't show it, but I definitely do see. I don't know. Dodger fans don't like Angel fans. Like, well, whatever the reason is, like, I can't even pin down a specific reason other than, like I said, what I mentioned territorial wise, or I don't know, blue and red. I don't even think that really matters. It's just kind of, yeah. I mean, Dodger fans are pretty. I mean, I always say they're a little bit more harsh to other fans in general of teams that they don't like. And the Angels are definitely up there, which is why I said on field, not a rivalry, but off field, I still wouldn't consider it a rivalry, but there's definitely. I wouldn't even say like Lakers Clippers. It's just like I don't know. Dodger fans don't like Angel fans. It's weird. I don't understand why, but it is a thing for real. It is truly a thing.
Yeah, Lakers Clippers is like I'm a Lakers fan. You're a Lakers fan, so we're on the same side of the coin here. But always felt like punching down, right? Oh, yeah. That always feels like punching down. Now, obviously, the Clippers are much better in recent years, and you know the Lakers right now. I know you were just at the game recently, but the one rivalry that, like, I mean, perfect mirror that feels very real. No, I don't know if you're a hockey guy, but Ducks Kings, that's legit. That's an actual rivalry. So if you're looking like that actual interstate rivalry or freeway series, if you want to call it. But I mean, like those are like, I mean, met in the playoffs and fights and like there's actual bad blood there. If players actually hate each other, that might be more of a symptom of hockey more so than anything else. But there is an actual rivalry there. But as far as Angels Dodgers, man, again, I've always rooted for them. Like, do you root for the Angels? I know you've kind of said that like fans themselves aren't necessarily doing it, but like for you, have you like rooted for them, like if they are in the playoffs or anything like that? I know it's been a while, but still.
I mean, they rooted them in 2002. Obviously, you know they were going against the Giants, but
sure.
Yeah, I don't actively root against them, and yeah, if they were in the playoffs, I would probably, like I said, I like Mike Trout. Obviously now Ohtani, I like Ohtani. You know, Socha was a Dodger guy, although I don't feel the love for him because I wasn't around when he was playing, but you know he is a beloved Dodger guy, and so there was always that there. And you know I don't root for them. I have a few cousins that are really big Angel fans, and I've kind of gotten close to in the last few years. So you know I feel a little more sympathetic towards them. Like come on, like
get it together.
Like, come on, be good. Like it'd be fun if you guys are good.
Come on, be good.
So you know I definitely feel it, and I think the other one too that I feel that's new is like LAFC Galaxy.
Okay.
The fans don't like each other at all. Like the fans hate each other. And on the field, I don't really think the players care too much, but the fans off the field hate each other. I don't feel like Dodger Giants or Dodger Angels is even that strong because I feel like it's more one-sided. Like Dodger fans just don't like Angel fans. And Angel fans will only really kind of come at Dodger fans if they feel provoked. I don't think.
Yeah, it feels like defense mode, not like attack.
Now on social media, they are a little more brave. They do come out like they are.
Everyone
more,
is.
But that's everyone. So like, I'm not gonna fault them for that.
Yeah, you talked that. I'm not a football guy like at all, but you know, I feel like Rams Charger kind of has that same like Clippers Lakers punching down feeling. Yeah, you know, and you know, obviously the Rams used to play right here. They used to play here. That's when I started going to Angel Stadium, is when it was still Rams and Angels. So yeah, but overall, dude, yeah, I think you've made a lot of good points, and like there isn't obviously a ton of trades between Angels Dodgers, but there are some like crossovers. Obviously, Albert Pujols, most recently, Dino Ebel, like beloved coach in Anaheim. I mean, we loved him, and I still say he is the best coach at third base in Major League Baseball. He is incredibly good. When has he ever made a mistake? Like it's almost. I think you can think of one mistake that Dino Ebel made when his time here in Anaheim, but. Yeah, you mentioned Soch there, obviously longtime Dodger World Series champion Dodger, and then ends up coaching and being the greatest coach in Angels history. Garrett Anderson, you mentioned. I remember the like when I really started feeling like the Dodgers aren't the enemy is the Matt Kemp versus Ryan Braun MVP debate. That was the first time for me. I was like, nah, dude, Matt Kemp's the guy. Like, what are you talking about? Like, this is ridiculous. I still stand by that. I still think he was robbed. I'm sure you feel the same way. Let's kind of just try to put a pretty bow on it here. However, what if you could give any message to Angels fans? Obviously, maybe your Dodger counterparts won't echo the same sentiments. But if you could give any parting wisdom, be like, hey man, let's like hold hands and kumbaya. What would you say to Angels fans?
Let's just come together over the fact, that, like I said, Ohtani, Trout, two best players. Rendon has a little bit more hostility from Dodger fans, and
I understand that.
Yeah, for the comment he made. But at the end of the day, like, it's baseball. If you're just a Dodger fan or just an Angel fan in general, okay, I can understand it. But if you're a baseball fan, like I said, I go to Angel Stadium, 3-4 times a year, even if they're not playing the Dodgers. I saw Ohtani pitch twice this year. Like, that's stuff that you can tell your kids, like, realistically, like, hey, I saw Shohei Ohtani pitch and bat in the same game. Like, because realistically, I mean, even if more guys come up like that, he was kind of the first one that's going to, if it does become a movement, he was the first one and probably still going to be the best one into the future. So, yeah, I think it's just, appreciate each other. I definitely, I used to be way more on the Angels fans before on like social media, but now I've kicked back a little bit. Don't like it. Not that it's feeling like punching down, but it does feel a little bit different now. Plus, like I said, there's nobody on there I don't like on the Angels. So, and there's a lot more fans. I think the fans are starting to realize too. Like, it's one of those where the fans are starting to realize, 2002 wasn't a good argument, and even when we started this, and it's not a good argument now. And they're becoming a little bit self-aware, like, all right, the team's not that good. We probably could benefit from being a little better. And I think we can all just come together in the sense of let's both make the playoffs every year, and that'll be a lot more fun than, not making the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, if we ever met in a World Series, that would be the coolest thing. That would be the coolest thing to happen in Southern California. Like when Ducks and Kings met, and it was the Western Conference Finals a couple of years ago. I try to push that memory back into the deepest recesses of my mind. But that was awesome. That was awesome, dude. That was one of the. I mean, it ended poorly for me, a Ducks fan. But if we ever met in the world, like we'd only be able to meet in a World Series, that would be epic beyond epic. Baseball, Major League Baseball, would be so happy. Right. And for all the Angels fans, and come at me like if you think I'm insane, but for the people who are always like, oh, the Dodgers just buy their championships, then what are we doing? Like, if you don't do that, what's the point then? Like, that's what we're doing. They have the money. It's not our money. I will never pay a single cent to Mike Trout. So pay him what he's going to get. Pay whoever who's going to get. It's not my money. The Dodgers buy championships. Then what else are they supposed to do? Like, be 500? That's not what we're here to do at all. You got to spend money to win. Duh.
Yeah, that's the funniest part. Like, bro, what do you want? So, what do you want me to say? Sorry, my owners want to win. Like, I don't know. Like,
every single one's a billionaire. Who, like, duh. Like, they're spending a lot of money. It's like, if they're charging you $20 for a beer and $8 for a hot dog, well, then they better be using that money to buy a dang winning team. Yeah. So that's always been my pitch. So to Dodger fans who may be coming over here to watch this and try and roast me, dude, I'm on your side. Like I am with you, dude. I wish we spent like the Dodgers and wisely and drafted and developed the way the Dodgers do, because it's not a secret. You guys are incredible at it, and there's a reason why you're in the World Series almost every year, or at least in the NLCS. So I'm rooting for the Dodgers. And hey, we also have two of the best broadcasters in baseball, Joe Davis and Matt Vasgersian. So there's a lot of good stuff in Southern California baseball. So you know what? If you want to have fun and roast Dodger fans, then hey, have at it, dude. Whatever. Do what you're gonna do. But for my money, like, I'm there to have fun. When I went to Dodger Stadium, they roasted me a little bit. I was rocking an Angels hat and a Shop Conseco t-shirt. I was a Conseco tee. But once we kind of got into it, and I was kind of yelling at Belly a little bit, and I was, making light. I was sitting in center field, so I was making light of it, and they all kind of caught on. And Dodger fans can be chill. They can be chill. You just got to show them that you can take the blows too. So
you got to gain some respect.
Yeah, you got to gain that respect. I think I gained it, and it's probably helps that I know way too much about trivial things about baseball. It's always helpful. But Vince, thanks for jumping on, dude. I'm glad that you were able to do this and like be the voice of reason, I guess.
Hey man, I try to be very neutral, team everybody, team. I'm a baseball fan when it comes down to it at the end of the day. So, regardless of all the other stuff or rivalries and all that, it's I'm gonna still watch baseball anyway. So it don't really matter at the end of the day.
If you can, if you're not blacked out.
Exactly. Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right, bro. Thanks for checking us out and then for hopping on today.
I appreciate you. All right, Steve. Thanks for having me and letting me join Locked On Angels and letting you join Locked On Dodgers. Angel fans are always going to be an interesting group, but I do think they've gotten a little bit better in recent years, at least in terms of in person. They're still not that great online, but hey, whatever. So that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for making us your first listen every weekday morning. We are Locked On Dodgers. We are free and available on all platforms and on YouTube. So check us out. We are on social media, Twitter and Instagram at Locked On Dodgers. You can find us individually. Jeff is on Twitter at Snydog. I'm at Vince Samperio. Get a hold of us on any of those accounts. You can also leave us a voicemail or send us a text at 323-863-5625. Or you can always send us an email, lockedondodgers@gmail.com. We're here every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be with us when you get in your car or if you're at home. There's My Device Play podcast, Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. Have a good one.